Hi you two, and welcome to my first ever baking segment where I'm going to attempt to make some cinnamon rolls with that delicious yummy cream cheese frosting. It's a favourite of my family. Mr. Daly loves to have these for breakfast on Father's Day, so I thought that I would share these with you in case you wanted to make them along with someone at home, because you are going to be needing to use an oven, so you will not be able to do this without a grown-up to help, or a special person at your house on Sunday. So let's get started. I've got most of my ingredients here, and I'm also going to post the recipe for you as well. And this is also going to be my first ever attempt at joining little clips together, because we'll do the first section stage now, and then I have to wait for a little bit for the dough to rise. So first off, we're going to put a cup of warm milk, not hot, otherwise it kills the yeast, so into our mixing bowl. And then I'm going to sprinkle 2.5 teaspoons of instant yeast on top of the milk. So into that we also pop a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 4 tablespoons of caster sugar. It's looking a little bit like a mess at the moment. We also add in 1 egg, and we're going to use a fork to sort of swizzle that around a little bit first. It needs to be room temperature, a large egg, so into a bowl, hopefully, with no shell, a little bit of shell. There we go. Put that straight into my bin, and just a little bit of a mix, just to break up the yolk a little bit. Okay, so I'm actually going to use a whisk just to gently mix those ingredients around a little bit. And the next thing I need to add, wait one moment. It's on my microwave earlier. I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of melted butter. In goes my egg, mixing as I go. Great. Now we've mixed all of our ingredients together. Now we need to add 3 cups. That's a gooey bit. 3 cups of plain flour. I haven't sifted it, but you could if you wanted to. You also need a little bit of extra flour just on your bench for dusting. So you just add this in. You'll need a firm sort of spatula to mix. The dough can be quite heavy and a little bit, can be also a little bit sticky. So just mixing that together. I've also preheated my oven. My oven has just a keep warm function. You don't want it too hot. It's the original recipe, thanks to Natasha's Kitchen on Facebook. I follow her. She's great. So shout out to her. I think her temperature was 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which works out around about 35 degrees Celsius. So really, we don't want the oven too hot. Now your dough, it's ready when it's not sticking to the sides of the bowl anymore, and it will be a little bit, a bit sticky, but it won't stick to clean, dry fingers. So you can see it's a little bit sticky there. So I'm actually going to dust my bench a little with some little bit of plain flour. I don't want to add too much flour back into the dough, so I'll scoop this out as much as I can, because we are going to put the dough back into this bowl for its first rise. So I'm just not going to overwork the dough at all, just so it's not sticky and it just comes together. You can see that that's great. It feels a little bit sticky still, but it's not sticky to my fingers at all anymore. Okay, so we pop the dough back into the bowl, cover it with some plastic wrap, and then we're going to pop that in a warm space. If you're just leaving it in your kitchen on the bench for about an hour, if you're popping it into just to keep warm in your oven, I'd say around about half an hour until it doubles in size. So I will see you back for take 2 of Not Quite Nigella's Kitchen, the Daily House. See you later. Hi again. While you're waiting for your dough to rise for the first time, so while it's either in the oven or on your bench, it's time to make the cinnamon scroll filling. So in my bowl, I have mixed, not with a hand mixer or anything, it's just softened butter, and it's around about 100 grams. So I've just got that in there, and to that I'm going to add 2 things. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of cinnamon from this ridiculously small cup because I ran out of little white bowls. So in that goes. And then I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. Now the original recipe said caster sugar, but I love how caramelized and brown this looks in the bun. So I use brown sugar, but up to you. Now this is what we're going to spread on our dough when we roll it out, and it melts into the scrolls, and it's absolutely delicious. So I like to give that a little bit of time just to sit and for the flavours just to meld all together. So mine looks like that. Obviously a lot paler if you are using caster sugar. So set that aside and just wait until your for your dough to rise, and then we'll come back for the next step. You will need some more flour for your bench and also a rolling pin or maybe a glass if you don't have one. Okay, see you later. Hi and welcome back, and we're up to the stage now where we've had our dough been proving for about an hour or half an hour depending on how you did that, and it's doubled in size. So we're going to sprinkle our bench with a little bit more flour, not too much. And pop our dough out onto the bench. There we go. And what we need to do is we need to roll out quite a large rectangle. So using a rolling pin, just trying to get that as even as we can. This recipe makes approximately 12 generous scrolls. They are quite big, although no one in my house ever wants to go halves. Just going to trim that edge there, pop that back in. Trying to make that as even as possible, just so that our ends aren't too messy. And just pop that, roll that back in there. Okay. Okay. Hopefully not too sticky on the bench. That looks okay. If not, we can use our spatula. Okay, so now it's time to spread our cinnamon, butter and sugar mix onto our dough. Just dollop it around. Try and get every little bit out of the bowl. We don't miss any of that yummy flavour in our scrolls. Okay, so again, I like to use my spatula. Find a knife sometimes accidentally in my excitement, sometimes get a little bit, I can sometimes damage the dough. So spreading right to the edges all over your dough. Trying to get it as even coverage as possible. I know this is a practice run at my house, and I've got three children who are eagerly awaiting afternoon tea. Okay, so you can see that I've spread that all the way to the edges. Now we just kind of use what's, I guess, described as a typewriter motion along, and we're going to scroll it up like a big long snail shell. Squeezing as we go, as tight as possible. Brush off any excess flour as you're going. There we go. Mine's a little bit stuck there in the middle. Okay, so what we want to do now is to cut into even portions, 12 even portions. And once we've done that, we're going to pop that into a rectangular, well, this is my lasagna dish, okay, and I've just lightly sprayed that with some oil, so I'm going to cut in half, trying to keep them as even as possible. Popping them scroll side up into your baking tray. At this stage, you can sort of, if you've squashed them a little bit when you've cut them, you can actually sort of mold their shape back a little bit at this point. Now we are going to leave these to rise for a second time on the bench or in your oven on the bench for an hour, or in your oven for half an hour. Last lot. So I've managed to get 3 rows of 4. I've got my own little cinnamon scroll array happening here, and we'll puff them up again, let them rise, and they will all puff up beautifully, and they will join together in a beautiful little lines of little lovely scrolls. So we'll come back when they've had the chance to puff up. The recipe says to sort of dollop a little bit of butter on. Now, I don't put a lot on. The recipe does have a bit of butter in it as it is, and we have frosting on top as well. So, yeah, we don't put too much on. But that's the original recipe said to do that. So I probably even, I don't use much more than a tablespoon. I know there was a lot more if you're actually looking on Natasha's kitchen website. So we're going to wait for those, put it everywhere. Wait for those to rise a second time, and we'll come back and pop them in the oven, and then we'll make our cream cheese frosting. Bye. Hi guys, we're nearly finished getting ready to make our cinnamon scrolls. These scrolls have had their second rising, and you can see they're all puffed up and look amazing. They need to go into a moderate oven, so 180 degrees for between 22 and 25 minutes until they're nice and golden
golden brown. You need to make sure that the center ones have a little bit of golden on them as well, so to make sure they're not doughy in the middle. Once they're finished baking, just leave them on your bench to cool for about 15 minutes, and then you're going to make your fluffy cream cheese frosting, which is just butter, some cream cheese and icing sugar and a little dash of vanilla. I've popped the instructions in the recipe, so it's looked like this. And then once they're cooked and cooled for 15 minutes, we spread this all over. It's absolutely delicious. Something that's really important to note now though is at this stage, if you want to prepare your scrolls to have them the night before, to have them in the morning, at the beginning of this stage, so just after we've cut them up and popped them in, you can cover them in Glad wrap and pop them into the fridge to have a very slow proof overnight. So what you need to do is in the morning get them out, pop them on your bench, bring them to room temperature, and then you can pop them into the oven. Okay, thanks. Have fun.